Law Enforcement Ethics, presented by Corinne Lindsay. The ethical conduct of law enforcement agencies has been at the forefront of national attention. It is imperative that law enforcement personnel are frequently trained on ethical standards. The core values of law enforcement ethics are outlined in the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics. Ethics training of law enforcement personnel must have the ability to move fluidly back and forth on values-based and compliance-based. It's necessary to have an evaluation process of both training needs as well as the effectiveness of training. I'm going to start with an overview of the reason for codifying ethical standards. Codifying brings together the values and moral conduct that officers are expected to operate under, not only in their professional lives, but also in their personal lives. These values and morals within the Code of Ethics are basically a standard set by the profession as a whole. Officers will be held accountable to these standards throughout their entire career. Although the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics is a general standard for the profession, there are many departments that adopt it and take from it in their internal mission statements. Not all of it, but just pieces here and there are adopted into their mission. To summarize the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics, it basically talks about an officer's fundamental duty is to serve mankind, which has an element of the formula for humanity to treat everyone as an end and not merely as a means. Officers vow to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent, weak, and peaceful, and to protect the constitutional rights of everyone. I see some utilitarianism in this code in the protecting the constitutional rights of everyone serves as a greater good for the greater amount of people, since I have firsthand knowledge that protecting constitutional rights is not always beneficial for victims. There's an oath to keep their private lives unsullied, not to allow personal feelings to influence their decisions. The universalizability principle is seen here, where they're tasked to act according to what they enforce others to act. So basically they have to follow the rules and the laws and act as they expect others to act, or society expects others. I think of categorical imperatives with regards to not allowing personal bias to influence their actions. This shows their commitment regardless of their personal feelings, that they're bound to their code no matter what. In the end, you can see a little divine command theory where they take this vow to follow this code of ethics before God. The Law Enforcement Code of Ethics overall shows an absolutism in that it is a set of rules in which moral questions are judged. And I see a little contractarianism as well, in that the officers are entering into an explicit contract to follow these ethical codes and values. So values-based and compliance-based. The compliance-based portion of the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics is that the rules are clearly defined. The acceptance of those rules are clearly seen when beginning at several statements. It starts with the I will. I will safeguard lives and property. I will keep my private life unsullied. I will obey the laws of the land, and not allow my personal feelings to influence my decisions. The values-based portion is less obvious, but it's when it's freely taken. The oath in itself shows personal values. Officers take this vow in unison at the academy and upon swearing in. It binds them together as they say it together. Another part that is more explicit is when they state that they recognize their badge as a symbol of public faith in them, understanding that they are entrusted with a great power. They are entrusted by the public to take freedoms and even lives when necessary, and that trust must be met with the highest standard of values. So I haven't reached this far in my paper yet, but I intend to cover ethical training analysis as part of law enforcement ethics training. There should be the development of a comprehensive ethics compliance program. Integrated within that program should be a code of conduct, such as the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics, a way to report violations safely without scrutiny or retaliation, basically trying to prevent whistleblowers so that it could be handled internally, a way for employees to seek advice on ethical dilemmas, training for all employees, value and compliance-based training, a mechanism of discipline. I know that falls more under the compliance-based, but it's a necessary. And a way to evaluate ethical behavior on performance appraisals. Under this analysis, there should be an evaluation phase that occurs before and during the development of the training, as well as after, to evaluate the effectiveness of the training and the frequency needs of the training. The frequency should be upon hire and at minimum annually thereafter, but that doesn't mean that during the evaluation phase there isn't an identified need for more frequent training. My recommendations for the future are to take the Code of Ethics and integrate it into the department's training on ethical standards, to evaluate prior to developing the training, to see the culture of morals that you're dealing with and tailor the training on that to a blend of value-based and compliance-based needs. There are numerous studies that show the my way or the highway or the militaristic do what I say and ask no questions, compliance-based all the way training is not super effective. However, there are those who simply need to be held accountable for their actions, and sometimes the compliance-based is necessary, and it's also used as a preventative means for others. Now we have reached the end of my presentation. Here are my references. Thank you for watching. Farewell.